One day, I suddenly realized I could hear the thoughts of my comatose wife. It's been 2 months now. When will I be able to get up? I'm so hungry. I want hot pot, barbecue, and spicy skewers, grilled meat, seafood, and clay pot chicken. As I was talking, I started singing. Little bok choy. It's cold in the field. I have money now. I can lie down on the bed. I couldn't take it anymore. Can you be a little quieter? You're disturbing our rest. What the hell? You can hear me speaking? Hurry. Let's talk about 5 cents worth of stuff. Liu Ruyan must be awake. Because I started hearing that nagging voice again. Give me a body wipe. That caregiver is useless. Her movements are so rough. I wish I could get a replacement. What's my husband's name again? He's not bad looking, though. My butt suddenly itches so much. Who can scratch it for me? I'm going to make a fuss. I was sitting nearby reading. I just couldn't stand her noise anymore. I reached my hand under the blanket and scratched her butt a couple of times. The noise suddenly quieted down. I glanced at Liu Ruyan. She was lying with her eyes closed. Her face showed no signs of anything unusual. The next second, my eardrums exploded. What's wrong with this man? Why did he suddenly touch my butt? What the hell? He can't possibly have some weird fetish, right? He doesn't even spare a comatose person? If only you could move a little to the right. Still so itchy. I frowned and scratched a little more to the right. I impatiently asked, "Can you be quiet now? Can you hear my voice?" I didn't want to respond to her. I turned away and continued reading. But Liu Ruyan made even more noise. I was a bit speechless. Wasn't I supposed to be a cold-blooded, heartless villain? How did I end up like this? I came here through a book last month. And I was a tragic character. The substitute groom for the big villain. The plot of this book is summed up in one word. Cliché! I'm a bastard child of the He family. Originally, I was supposed to marry Liu Ruyan. It should have been my half-brother. The male lead of this book, He Kong. But unfortunately, He Kang's mom couldn't bear to let go of her precious son, so she had me marry a comatose woman. Thus, I became a live-in husband. According to the original plot, after marriage, I would stay out all night and flirt with various side characters. I planned to team up to kill Liu Ruyan. I would squander the inherited billions every day, living a life of debauchery. But then, Liu Ruyan woke up. So I quickly shut down. And the story continued. It turned into the love, hatred, and entanglements between Liu Ruyan and the male lead. In general, it has little to do with me. With the mindset of since I'm here, I might as well settle in. I casually stayed in the story. I had always liked peace and quiet. I could read my books in peace. No need for 996 work hours. This was like a godsend to me, a paradise life. So I began visiting Liu Ruyan's hospital room to read every day. At night, I would go back to the big villa to sleep. I already had a plan. Once Liu Ruyan woke up, I would explain everything to her and strive for a peaceful divorce. But to my surprise, just a few days later, I was disturbed by Liu Ruyan's noise. At first, I thought it was Liu Ruyan waking up. I even called the doctor over. But it turned out that, except for me, no one else could hear the endless nonsense from Liu Ruyan. I suddenly remembered. When I first came here, someone mentioned something about a golden finger. I stiffened all over. My golden finger. Could it be that I can hear the thoughts of the comatose villain? What good is this cursed golden finger to me? Liu Ruyan had been holding back for 2 months. After discovering that I could hear her thoughts, she completely let go. Isn't she my partner? I remember she's called He Wuking. He Wuking is my half-brother from the same father. I'm his younger brother, He Kong. I've met your brother. He talks too much. It's a good thing he didn't come to marry her. I rolled my eyes. She's the one talking too much. I think it's her that talks too much. I was about to speak, but Liu Ruyan started whining. Can you do me another favor? Her voice was trembling. Can you check if my butt was bitten by a mosquito? Why is it so itchy? I glanced at the woman lying on the bed. Her skin was soft and snow white. Her facial features were delicate, even lying there. She still gave off an air of nobility. Thinking about her request, I felt a little embarrassed. The last time. Aren't we married? It's just a butt. It's not like it's Liu Ruyan. Fine, it's the last time. It's not that I can't move. Wait until I can move. If you beg me to look, I still won't agree. I couldn't take it anymore. I quickly pulled back Liu Ruyan's blanket. I lifted her hospital gown. Then I realized, probably because she had been lying in bed, her skin had become even more delicate. No, a little lower. You're not quite at the right spot. Reluctantly, I pulled it down a bit further. I bent over and carefully observed. Just then, with a creak, the door opened. I looked up, just as I was having an awkward encounter with Liu Ruyan's mother. Even my hand was inappropriately placed on her daughter's butt. Even with the thickest skin, I couldn't stand it. And no, Mom! Liu Ruyan's mom's face was even redder than mine. Mom knows, we both know. No! She doesn't know. Liu Ruyan couldn't see this time. She was still there, anxiously urging me. Why did you stop? Hurry up. Thanks to Liu Ruyan, after that day, Liu's mom started treating me exceptionally well. She gave me 100,000 every day. From time to time, she would wipe away tears. It's our Liu family's fault. We owe you. It got even crazier when the attending physician came to talk to me personally. The chances of Liu Ruyan waking up from this state are very high. Living together in the future will have no effect. At this stage, it's best to control things as much as possible. Control? What do I need to control? Control not scratching the mosquito bite on her butt? I returned with a cold expression. As soon as I pushed open the door, I heard the instigator complaining. I'm so bored alone. I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. I was packing up to leave. He grumbled, why don't you stay here tonight? The caregiver snoring is too loud. It's so noisy, I can't sleep. You could choose to sleep by yourself. That won't do. The hospital is full of negative energy. I'm scared to be alone. My temples throbbed. I just couldn't help but be curious. Is this how you always act? So loud and obnoxious. Liu Ruyan was silent for a few seconds. I prefer to call myself a sunny, cheerful little girl. How many comatose people have you met, with a mindset as good as mine? She sighed after speaking. Look at me, I'm beautiful and my personality is great. If you're lucky enough to marry me, you can just secretly be happy about it. Hey, well, my standards for laughter aren't that low. But I stayed that night, not because of Liu Ruyan, but because Liu's mom was giving me so much. I felt like I didn't deserve all of it. After Liu Ruyan found out I was staying the night, she actually became shy. She hesitated and asked, is this our honeymoon night? It was my first time. If anything's off, please be understanding. I looked again at the woman lying on the bed, her face serene. Has she forgotten she's a comatose person? Lying next to Liu Ruyan. I couldn't sleep at all. Actually, the Liu family isn't in a good situation right now. The car accident involving Liu Ruyan affected the company's stock price. Many collaborations had to be terminated. Numerous competing companies seized the opportunity to take advantage. They wanted to completely defeat the Liu family. This included the original protagonist's family, according to the original plot. After Liu Ruyan was discharged, she did two things first. She killed me. And then she targeted the He family. I felt uneasy. I glanced at Liu Ruyan, who was lying there, looking like a fool. Would she really kill me? Liu Ruyan must have sensed my gaze. She asked, am I really that good looking? Maybe I should let you touch? I quickly shifted my gaze away. No need. During this time, Liu's visits to the hospital had become fewer and fewer. I didn't even need to ask. It was clear that the situation at the company was becoming more serious. Everything seemed to be progressing smoothly, just like the original plot. This only made me more anxious. I put all my effort into taking care of Liu Ruyan every day, but just one little annoyance from her would cause me to shut down. But I didn't expect that in the end. Something went wrong because was a media outlet conducting research at the hospital. A nurse accidentally revealed how I had been tirelessly taking care of my comatose wife. The editor-in-chief was deeply moved. That day, they published a special feature titled Newlyweds, Husband's Unwavering Care for His Comatose Wife. The report deeply criticized the current societal trend of quick marriages and divorces, and as a positive example, it glorified the unwavering bond between Liu Ruyan and me. Originally, it was just a piece of social news that wouldn't have stirred much controversy. But for some reason, they attached a photo that no one knew who took. I was sitting by Liu Ruyan's bed, reading. Sunlight was shining on us. It had a somewhat tranquil, peaceful atmosphere. The photo was posted online. Immediately, it sparked discussions among netizens. Wow, this wife is so beautiful. I'd be loyal to her too. This woman looks oddly familiar. Doesn't she resemble Liu Ruyan, the president of Liu Group? I heard she had a car accident recently. Did she become a comatose person? No, wait, when did she get married? The result was that hashtag Liu are you Oyen married. Hashtag Liu Oyen comatose, hashtag Liu are you Oyen trends shot up on the hot search list. Looking at the comments, I was completely stunned. Who had such a sharp tongue? And had even coordinated with the hospital in advance? Liu's mom looked at Liu Ruyan, worried. Ruyan has always been low-key by nature. She hates these kinds of gossip and media coverage. Now, the news that's being reported is about her illness. I'll wait until she wakes up. How am I going to explain this to her? On the other side, the low-key woman wasn't idle either. I'm in the newspaper. Did they put a filter on the photo? That nurse too. Why didn't you just help me with my makeup in advance? Her tone had a hint of smugness. Look, even though I'm a comatose person now, I still have countless little fans shouting wife under my photo. Zi Qiangqiang, you've got to be a little more cautious and let them have their turn. I'll let them have it immediately. Although the Liu family quickly had the trending topic removed, Liu Ruyan's condition being a comatose person couldn't be hidden anymore. Many media outlets were blocking the hospital entrance, demanding interviews. If this continues, I'm afraid the rumors will only get worse. In just 2 months, I've aged a decade or more. Liu Ruyan can hear the outside world, and she told me to be open with the media. Are you really willing? Rather than hiding it, it's better to be upfront and tell the truth. It's just a press release. And for the spokesperson, I'll leave that to my husband. The day before, Liu Ruyan helped me prepare the speech in her hospital room. It detailed the entire car accident and her current treatment situation. She spoke calmly, but my heart still clenched. When that truck came rushing at you, didn't it hurt? I don't remember. Liu Ruyan pressed her lips together. Actually, at that moment, I just had one thought. Great, now I don't have to get married. But in the end, you still got married. Her voice carried a trace of a smile. Thanks to the car accident, I got someone even better looking. The press conference was done via live stream. I read through Liu Ruyan's speech. But suddenly, I noticed the bullet comments were eerily quiet. It seemed like the reporters weren't very interested either. After a moment, one reporter finally spoke. Actually, everyone wants to know the love story between you and Ms. Liu. Then the bullet comments started flying across the screen. Everyone was asking when Liu Ruyan and I got together. If it was love at first sight. Some even asked how a comatose person handles personal needs. Those 18+ questions I secretly glanced at. The woman lying next to me, completely unaware of any of this. Her face slowly turned red. We had an arranged marriage. We didn't know each other before, so there was no real emotional foundation. This isn't a secret in the circle. So the reporter continued asking, "Have you ever thought about leaving?" I shook my head. After all, I'm afraid of dying. Then may I ask, Mr. He, what's the reason that keeps you by his side? I wanted to say because he's the big villain, the kind who can kill people. But I still pretended to think for a moment and seriously considered it. I thought he's actually quite lively and cheerful. After the event ended, I let out a sigh of relief. "Thank you, my husband." Her voice made my whole body tremble. Thinking about the reporter's question, my face turned red again. I awkwardly said, "It's not hard." Originally, I thought this matter had come to an end. But the next day, breaking news He Kang's press conference was trending again. I became a bit nervous. Did I say something wrong during the interview yesterday? My attitude was sincere, and I performed gracefully, especially with my declaration of love for her. It was heartfelt. Don't worry, even I was moved. Netizens had no reason to criticize you. I clicked into the topic and immediately saw a post that went viral. He Kang's wife is not the big villain. She's my eternal sunshine girl. What is this nonsense? Netizens in the comments were also going wild, lively and cheerful, although I really like Liu Ruyan. Are we sure He Kang is talking about her? He Kang, if you're kidnapped, blink twice. This person is Liu Ruyan, right? Am I the only one who thinks the comatose female CEO X wealthy little puppy setup is perfect? On the same thread, my first reaction was also that. Then the thread started to explode. Everyone started discussing my and Liu Ruyan CP couple pairing. There were even people who started a he and Liu tribute topic under the rising wave. At night, Liu Ruyan couldn't sleep and forced me to read the fan fiction written by netizens under the topic. After 3 months of loneliness, He Kang walked into the sickbed, and in the moonlight, he pounced on the quietly sleeping CEO. He just couldn't resist anymore. He Kang threw off the blanket and pounced onto Liu Ruyan. I suddenly stopped. Liu Ruyan urged. What happened next? What did He Kang do next? I couldn't believe it. Then He Kang lifted the blanket and pressed across onto Liu Ruyan's butt. I closed my phone with a red face and closed my eyes to sleep. Liu Ruyan also knew this couldn't be what was written. She huffed in anger. When I wake up, I'll read it myself. I have to admit, the effect of the press conference was unexpectedly good. It even unexpectedly boosted Liu Group's stock price. Many CP fans began to support Liu Ruyan and Liu Group's love story, buying up several of Liu Group's products, helping He Kang return quickly to pounce on his comatose wife. Why aren't you buying, female CEO fans? How can Ruyan continue to be the female CEO if you don't support her? Liu Ruyan couldn't be the female CEO. Some netizens even began reviewing Liu Group's products. I've always bought from Liu Group. To be honest, their quality beats many international brands. More and more people started paying attention to Liu Group. And somehow, the company miraculously weathered the crisis. But while some rejoiced, others were troubled. Liu Group rose from the ashes. The He family couldn't sit still. A few days later, He Wuking came to find me. Kang, I just heard about your marriage. I'm sorry, brother, I've wronged you. The hypocritical brotherly affection made my skin crawl. What are you doing here? I'm here to help you. He Wuking paused and began explaining to me. My family insisted on Liu Ruyan. I ran off to the US out of spite, but I never imagined they'd make you marry into their family. Anyway, I came back as soon as I heard the news. Kang, I've always treated you like my real brother. Don't worry, I won't let you marry Liu Ruyan. I've already talked with the family, and they've agreed to let you divorce Liu Ruyan. Before I could say anything, Liu Ruyan let out a couple of snorts from beside me. Does he think we're fools? The only reason Liu Group was able to bounce back is because of the CP fanbase leading the charge. Now they're everywhere. You want a divorce, which is clearly a plan to destroy Liu Group. One naturally also understood that logic. I shook my head. No need, I'm doing just fine now. Stop trying to fool me. He Wuking grabbed my hand forcefully. His tone urgent. I know you were coerced by the Liu family. And that's why you said those things online. Kong, trust me. Liu Ruyan is no good. You can talk all you want, but how can you personally attack others like that? Liu Ruyan wasn't happy again. She muttered to me about He Wuking. He's ugly, fine. But how can he be so mean-spirited? If this were a fairy tale, he'd be the evil stepmother. I was getting really annoyed. Can you shut up? He Wuking froze at my shout. Kong, you don't trust me? I wasn't talking about you. Forget it, you keep going. He Wuking probably thought that talking bad about Liu Ruya would make me upset. To strengthen his persuasion, he let out a deep breath. Since you're like this, I won't hide anything from you. He carefully looked around, making sure no one was nearby before speaking. Liu Ruyan has violent tendencies. She started letting dogs attack at the age of 6, bit the housemaid's legs so badly that she's been in a wheelchair ever since. In high school, she even burned a classmate's arm with a cigarette and forced that person to drop out. From childhood to now, she's well known in the industry as a tyrant. I glanced at Liu Ruyan. How could she have done all these things? Sure enough, Liu Ruyan sneered. Our family helped disabled people with employment and fed dogs to that uncle back then. He was originally a disabled person. Back in high school, that chubby guy was showing off his tattoos to me. But he got caught by the homeroom teacher. He lied and said his arm was burned by a cigarette. He has such a vivid imagination. Why doesn't he write novels? He'd probably make more money than he does now. Also, there's one more thing. Do you know how his father died? Seeing that I shook my head, He Wuking lowered his voice. So he poisoned his father to death. Then Liu Ruyan went crazy. Hubby, you let him wait. I'm going to call my father out of the coffin now and take him away. After He Wuking left, Liu Ruyan was still lying in bed, too angry to speak, seeing me reading like nothing had happened. She wasn't happy. You're just going to let them slander me like that? Aren't you angry? What kind of useless husband are you? I wanted to laugh. He Wuking should be your husband. If you dislike me, I can help you bring him back. Are you saying you want to dump me? Is that what I'm saying? Liu Ruyan looked like a wife who caught her husband cheating. Her voice was loud and exaggerated. He Kong, don't you want to take responsibility for me anymore? This left me stunned. Take responsibility for what? Is it that comatose people have no rights? You can look at the comatose persons, and not take responsibility? Can we move on from this already? After that day, He Wuking never appeared again. But I still felt like this matter wasn't over. Sure enough, a few days later, I was blocked by a strange woman. Hey Kong, we know each other. Are you still mad at me? The woman's face showed a hint of sorrow. Actually, I disappeared before the wedding because I was threatened by your father. My family situation. I couldn't risk putting my mother in danger. Those words triggered a bit of recognition in me. I racked my brain to recall the original plot. You're Jiazhu. So you're finally willing to talk to me. She encouraged me to run away with her. And the green tea woman who ultimately led to my tragic death had appeared. Now, Liu Ruyan had been lying in bed for 4 months. By the timeline, it was about time for her to wake up. I didn't want to stir up trouble at this point. I took a step back. I'm sorry, but I'm already married. Please don't come looking for me again. I thought my rejection was clear enough. But Jiazhu actually started appearing more and more around the hospital. Her words were full of pleas for reconciliation. Your brother told me. You're not happy at all right now. One snowy day, she followed me all the way to the top floor's ward. She rushed in. Your father has agreed to let us be together. The biggest obstacle between us is gone. Kong, I don't believe you've forgotten me so quickly. Saying this, she hugged me tightly. I'm willing to leave with you. To a city where no one knows us. We'll start over. Are you crazy? I was about to push her away when suddenly I heard Liu Ruyan's voice. You two are this close even in the hospital? You really do have quite an interest in each other. Jiazu pushed me away suddenly. I sensed something was wrong. Turning around to see the woman who had been lying in bed now sitting up. Why did you stop? Is it because I woke up at a bad time? Did I disturb you too? So it was really Liu Ruyan speaking. My heart raced wildly. I rushed to her bedside. You're awake. Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Liu Ruyan calmly moved away from me. Mr. He, if you have this much time, maybe you should handle your personal matters first, then come back to discuss the divorce. Liu Ruyan had woken up, and with her awakening, my golden finger had disappeared. She didn't remember anything that had happened during her comatose state. That period of time seemed like a mere figment of my imagination. At this moment, doctors gathered in the room, conducting various tests on Liu Ruyan. Her health was completely fine. Everything was normal. Congratulations, Ms. Liu. You should be able to leave the hospital soon. The doctor sighed in relief, smiling. And congratulations, Mr. He. The patient's period is finally over. Liu Ruyan frowned slightly at the comment. Patient's period? The doctor must have assumed we were deeply in love, and spoke without thinking. Well, your husband. I had told him not to rush, to wait a little longer, and then he winked at me. Don't worry, I've checked everything for your wife. Everything's perfectly normal. Hearing this, I was completely stunned. Why is this doctor so sarcastic? I quickly explained. It's not what you think. Liu Ruyan gave me a warning glance. Mr. He's preferences really are diverse. The first thing Liu Ruyan did when she woke up was call the company's assistant to the hospital and ask about the company's situation. Thanks to Mr. He, the company is operating smoothly. After saying that, the assistant handed me his phone and played the video from the press conference. After watching it, Liu Ruyan's hands were trembling. Her eyes were filled with anger as she looked at me. Who allowed you to hold such a press conference, spreading such nonsense? I hadn't said a word before. But after hearing this, I wasn't happy either. Considering the injury has already been exposed, do you think I shouldn't have held this press conference? Liu Ruyan opened her mouth, but no words came out. Then I asked her, in the press conference, do you think the events I described in this speech were wrong? Or was it the way the journalists presented your personality in the follow-up questions? Liu Ruyan still didn't say anything. I raised an eyebrow, since there's no problem with it. Then what's your issue now? Liu Ruyan was probably shocked for the first time in her life. She froze for a moment before letting out a hum of frustration. Sharp tongue. I mimicked her cold tone. Cutting ties after crossing the river. I didn't want to stay in the same room with her anymore. I decided to leave first. Just as I was about to walk out, I suddenly remembered something. I pulled a piece of paper from my bag. This is for you. It was meant for putting you to sleep tonight. But now that you're awake, you can read it yourself. What's this? I opened the first page and pointed to the headline. CEO is a comatose patient again. Liu Ruyan's face immediately stiffened. I snorted, I'm not going to let you off easily. I'm not sure if it was triggered by her colleagues, but for the next few days, I didn't see Liu Ruyan. It wasn't until a week later that I finally met her again. She walked toward me furious. Is this your perfect plan? I looked at the CEO, who'd been acting like an angry pufferfish since waking up, and felt a little speechless. She threw a photo at me. I picked it up and glanced at it, and couldn't help but frown. There was the first time we met outside the hospital, and Jiazu loitering around the hospital. There was even a picture of him forcibly hugging me. But the angle of the photo was particularly skillful. It even created a somewhat sweet atmosphere. That's when I realized what Wuking and their group were trying to do. If the divorce didn't happen, they'd use the hostility and fabricated affair to create the illusion that I was cheating. They were riding on the heat from the CP they had stirred up earlier. I still vividly remembered how the original protagonist died. Now, seeing Liu Ruyan's grim expression, I was a little panicked. The photos are fake. I've been tangled up with you every day. How would I have time to tear them up? You're the one who's been tangled with me. I suddenly fell silent. Liu Ruyan sneered. Now you can't even lie properly. You're sure that I can't do anything to you now? I really couldn't stand Liu Ruyan's daily cold mockery. Liu Ruyan, are you suffering from split personality disorder? Your heart doesn't feel that way at all. How can you say such hurtful things? You were clearly happy when it made the newspaper. You're more diligent than anyone in reading those fan fictions. When Jiazhu showed up, you were clearly just jealous. And you never actually wanted a divorce. Why do you have to act like this? It's quite annoying. Hikong, who told you this nonsense? You told me. You talk nonsense to me every day. I shot him a glare. Believe it or not. With that, I turned and walked away. Liu Ruyan stood there for a moment. Seeing that I had no intention of turning back, she got angry and said, "Why are you still mad?" Setting everything else aside, isn't it normal for a wife to want an explanation when she sees her husband with intimate photos with another woman? I don't care. Come back to me when you've sorted out your attitude as a wife. Although Liu Ruyan and I were having a conflict, we both knew once the photos were exposed, the online storm would be massive. The public is the easiest group to incite. Some people don't care about the truth at all. They only believe what they want to know. Recently, Liu Ruyan was leaving early and coming back late. She was overwhelmed with work. I wasn't idle either. I had someone help me investigate Jiazhu's personal information. A few days later, I actually got some results. They went as far as hacking into Jiazhu's computer and obtained his financial transactions. Half a month ago, Wuking had transferred 1 million to Jiazhu's personal account. Then he started following your movements. The hospital surveillance footage you wanted, I've also saved on a USB. It proves that you've never paid attention to Jiazhu's harassment. I waited until very late. Before Liu Ruyan finally came home, I need to talk to you about Jiazhu. I followed her into the study and took out the materials in my hand. Here's the footage of Jiazhu following you and the transfer records of Jia sending money to him. Does this prove that I'm innocent? I waited for a long time, but Liu Ruyan didn't react. When I looked up, she was staring at me blankly. Her gaze was a little unfocused. I leaned in and sniffed. You've been drinking. Liu Ruyan bent her thumb and index finger, confirming that she was already drunk. I put the things on the desk away. Get some rest. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I turned to leave, but Liu Ruyan stood up and grabbed me. You're so fierce. Her eyes looked as if they were full of tears. She looked so pitiful. Why are you angry every day? Aren't you the one who's angry every day? Mr. He, not happy. It was obvious she wasn't listening to my explanation. You took photos with another woman. They're fake and you even let her hug you. I pushed her away. I don't care if you're my husband. I've never hugged her. Why does she get to hug you first? After saying this, Liu Ruyan suddenly came closer and hugged me. Then she rubbed her face against my neck. Drunk Liu Ruyan was clearly more honest. She clung to the pillow and followed me into the bedroom. She insists on sleeping with me. No way, you're occupying half of my bed comfortably. We're husband and wife. So why can't I sleep? You'll regret this tomorrow. I won't in the end. I still couldn't get her to leave, because I was really curious. Her expression after sobering up would be quite interesting. Sure enough, she didn't disappoint me the next day. Liu Ruyan opened her eyes and looked like the sky had fallen. What's going on? I propped my head up. feeling quite pleased. You climbed into my bed last night. But Ms. Liu, you're asking me what happened. I should be asking you. She sighed. Just as the internet says, women can't be trusted. Who would have thought that the well-dressed Ms. Liu would be doing such sneaky things at night? Liu Ruyan's face gradually stiffened. It's an accident, I understand. Today, I'll have the locksmith change the lock on my room, so you won't be able to barge in and blame me later. Liu Ruyan laughed. Her face was so grim it could drip water. The pent-up frustration of the past half-month finally cleared up. But there was a downside. After that day, I became a force to be reckoned with. Liu Ruyan would avoid me whenever she saw me. I tried several times to talk to her about the investigation, but she coldly shut me down each time. Even Liu's mother noticed something was off. She came over to ask, "Are you and Allinone having some kind of argument?" I hesitated for a moment before asking, "Mom, do you ever feel like Liu Ruyan's personality is a little strange? She can be lively sometimes, but other times she's really gloomy. It's like she's hot and cold." Liu's mother was silent for a long time. After a while, she spoke. "Actually, Allinone has an older brother." I was stunned. I didn't know that. The book didn't mention much about the antagonist's family background. I only knew that Liu Ruyan's family was very wealthy, and that after her father passed away from illness, she inherited the family business. Liu Ruyan wasn't always like this when she was young. She was lively and active, always climbing trees and running around. She was quite mischievous. Allinon's older brother, on the other hand, was more composed. Originally, her father and I planned for him to take over the company and let Allinone grow up according to her personality. But unexpectedly, when Liu Ruyan was 8, her older brother passed away. That year, we took them on a trip, and a storm suddenly hit. At the time, Liu Ruyan was swimming in the sea, and her brother was swept away while trying to rescue her. Since then, Allinone completely changed. Out of guilt, she forced herself to grow up overnight and gradually became more like her brother. So the thoughts I heard from her were the real Liu Ruyan. Liu's mother's eyes were slightly moist. She held my hand tightly. At that time, we were all immersed in the grief of losing our son, and we didn't notice something was wrong with Allinone. By the time we realized, it was too late. Akong, I can feel that you mean something different to Allinone. If you also have some feelings for my daughter, could you help her out? Liu's mother's words made me go home and think for a long time. I didn't have any feelings for Liu Ruyan. At first, I thought I didn't. Getting close to Liu Ruyan was all part of the plot. I only flattered her to protect myself. But at some point, things changed. Maybe it was when Liu Ruyan kept chatting with me. Or maybe it was when she thanked me and called me husband. During this time, Liu Ruyan had become a completely different person, and I found myself losing control. I remembered the old Liu Ruyan, wondering if that Liu Ruyan would wake up. Would she tease me? Would she cling to me and ask me to stay with her? Until that night, when Liu Ruyan was drunk, she hugged me and said, "I miss you so much." The heart I had been holding in suspense finally settled. Actually, I wanted to tell her that I missed her too. Does this count as liking her? That night, I deliberately waited until very late. After Liu Ruyan returned home, I took a pillow and ran to her bedroom. "Is there something you need?" "No, I just want to sleep here with you. Don't take advantage of this." I smiled slightly. I'd rather return the favor. Liu Ruyan's lips curled into a mocking smile. "Hikong, have you lost track of who you really are? You're just a substitute who married into the family instead of your brother. Once the media frenzy dies down, we'll separate." "So, what you're saying is, you want He-Wooking to stay with you?" I suddenly realized. I pulled out my phone. "I'll call him for you now." Saying that, I started dialing the number in front of her. "Bro, it's Hikong." Before I could say anything else, Liu Ruyan lunged at me and grabbed my phone out of my hand. She glanced at my dark screen. Realizing she had been tricked, I quickly grabbed her waist and winked at her. The doctor was right. You're really recovering well. In that instant, Liu Ruyan's face turned red with embarrassment. She was silent for a while, then stiffly walked to the bathroom and slammed the door shut. I couldn't help but laugh. At that moment, I finally admitted it to myself. I liked Liu Ruyan. I understood my feelings. I wasn't holding back anymore. I started visiting her every couple of nights. At first, she would act aloof and pretend to kick me out. But later, she just relaxed. She let me do whatever I wanted. I could do whatever I felt like. One night, I was lying in my room, unwilling to move. Unexpectedly, Liu Ruyan came over on her own. She looked at me with furrowed brows. "Hikong, are you the type to give up halfway?" Her words were strange. I took a moment to process. Then I realized that Liu Ruyan was hinting that I might be a little tired. "Take a day off," she said, and with a loud bang, the bedroom door slammed shut. It startled me. I felt a little uneasy. "Come on, that's my bed too. Why are you being so harsh?" But before long, the door opened again. Liu Ruyan walked in expressionlessly, holding a thermos with wolfberry tea. "My mom asked me to give this to you." "Thank you." Liu Ruyan stood in place for a moment, then pursed her lips and walked away. I waited until midnight, lying in bed playing on my phone. The door opened again. It was Liu Ruyan once more. "When you're tired, don't stay up late." I finally got a little annoyed. I couldn't help but reply, "Did your mom tell you that too?" Liu Ruyan didn't respond. She walked over, grabbed my phone, and pulled me back to her bedroom. She pushed me onto the side of the bed where she sleeps. With a shy smile, she said, "Close your eyes and sleep." This phrase felt so familiar. Wasn't this what I always said when I tried to get her to sleep? I have to admit, my sleep companionship strategy was working. I could clearly feel Liu Ruyan's change in attitude toward me. Although she wasn't as talkative as she was during the comatose period, at least she was acting like a normal person now, when everything seemed to be going well. The photos of me and Jiazu were exposed. And to make matters worse, He Wuking beat me to the punch and accepted a media interview. This is my fault. I'm the one who wronged Kong. He brought me into the Liu family. If it weren't for my impulsive runaway marriage, he wouldn't have had to separate from the one he loved, and Liu Ruyan wouldn't have ended up like this. If you want to criticize someone, blame me, but don't blame my brother. The netizens went crazy. What is this? Is this really happening in the 21st century? The rich families are too chaotic. The marketing is disgusting. They can create a CP with this fake marriage and earn money from the fans. And then they each play their own games. I don't know who to pity anymore. I should probably just pity myself. The money I spent on the CP craze led me here. My tears followed closely as I was dragged by He Wuking and the meteor. The news of He Kong and He Wuking shot up on the trending list. Even He Kong and He Wuking were tagged alongside the headlines. And so I became famous. The internet was now creatively insulting me. Bastard child is still a bastard child. I just felt that He Wuking was so graceful. He was so different from He Kong. I started to get a conspiracy theory vibe. Was He Qiang's marriage a self-directed performance? Was it just so he could marry into a wealthy family? His plan was pretty good. He married a comatose wife, got the money, gained fame. And it didn't even stop him from being with his little lover. But I didn't expect my wife to wake up. Liu Ruyan walked over and took my phone away. "Stop looking, I'm fine. I just find it pretty interesting. I'm just an ordinary person. How did I deserve this, being mocked by the entire internet? It's my fault for not handling things well." Liu Ruyan sat beside me. "I'll help you prepare a clarification statement. I'll sort out all the timelines. If necessary, we'll hold another press conference. The speech draft should be prepared by you." I thought about it and shook my head. Forget it. I don't want to face the cameras anymore. Liu Ruyan was silent for a moment. Don't be afraid. This time, I'll be the spokesperson. Your wife will speak on your behalf. At that moment, I didn't realize anything was strange. A few minutes later, I rethought the conversation. And then I realized, Liu Ruyan, did you remember something? Remember what? Liu Ruyan didn't respond, still focused on the computer. You mentioned the cross-shaped thing. You remember now. I was both shocked and happy, standing up. When did you remember? Liu Ruyan finally stopped what she was doing, her eyes showing some helplessness. After that drunk night, I can't believe it's been this long before I remembered. Then why didn't you tell me? Why wait for me to come to you every day to sleep with you? Her gaze darkened. I've come to you before. I ground my teeth. I unilaterally decided to Cold War with her. Liu Ruyan stood up and sat on my lap. Sorry, hubby. She lowered her voice. Your wife also has some pride. I thought back to that time and couldn't help but laugh again. I grumbled. The things you did, they were quite embarrassing. All the evidence had been organized according to the timeline and posted online. It hit He-Wooking hard, leaving him with almost no room to retaliate. After discussing it, Liu Ruyan and I held an online press conference together to explain the whole incident to the public. A reporter asked, "Is this true?" Liu Ruyan didn't shy away from answering. It's true, her voice softened. The marriage contract with the He family was arranged by our parents, but I didn't have any feelings for Mr. He Kong, so I was planning to refuse. I didn't expect an accident to happen before we could solve it. My mother, loving her daughter, tried to resolve it by rushing a marriage. She discussed it with Hejia and decided to bring the wedding forward. Of course, Hejia didn't want his son to marry a comatose person, so he had my current husband, which is He Kong, marry me instead. Liu Ruyan smiled. I'm very grateful for their decision, because it allowed me to find someone I truly love. May I ask, what do you like about your husband? Liu Ruyan thought for a moment, then slowly said, kindness, integrity. He's humorous. He makes me feel secure. Each word she said seemed to carry countless stories within it. The reporter was moved by Liu Ruyan's gaze and couldn't speak for a few seconds. Then he asked, Mr. He, actually, we've asked you the same question before. I'm curious, now that Ms. Liu is awake, has your answer changed? I smiled, shook my head. I will always love the lively and cheerful Liu Ruyan. The truth was revealed. Hejia was once again blasted on the trending list. Later, some people followed the trail and discovered a financial dispute that involved the original protagonist's father in a lawsuit. With Liu Ruyan's early efforts to suppress things and the subsequent change in public opinion, the He family's business began to falter. I couldn't help but sigh. The protagonist should have been He-Wooking. How did it end up like this? This is the victory of the villain. It was only then that I realized something. He-Wooking is the male lead. So who's the female lead? Why does it feel like I have no impression of her? That day, Liu Ruyan came home with some shocking news. He-Wooking is getting married. Who's he marrying? The owner of the Hashang Group. Hashang Group. That sounds like a big company. I guess the female lead is finally showing up. So I asked, must be quite beautiful, right? After all, she's the female lead. Liu Ruyan glanced at me, then casually opened her phone, flipping through someone's moments. I stared at the photo of a woman at least 60 years old. Isn't that a mistake? She's an old woman. The situation is not looking good. At least a rich woman is willing to support him. This little boy toy. I refuse to give up. Does she have a daughter? A beautiful, youthful one? But Liu Ruyan's face darkened. Now, a comatose wife can't satisfy you, and you're already thinking about someone else's daughter's body? That's not what I meant. Let's be serious. Before I could finish, Liu Ruyan lunged at me. A few hours later, Liu Ruyan finally let me go. Do you feel satisfied now? Still thinking about someone else? I hadn't been thinking about anyone else. I was too lazy to respond to her. I rolled my eyes. Liu Ruyan leaned in. Hubby, there's something I've been curious about. For the first time, when I asked you to look at my butt, what did you feel? I thought bag. And couldn't help but smile. Wow, it's really white. It's like a big white steamed bun. And with that, the story ended.